Hello. Welcome back to our weekly live. And I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you so much for all of your engagement so far and to our brand new members. I've been enjoying our discussions and chats. And yeah, there was a really great question submitted actually that I'm going to talk about today. And it's going to link on to another topic that I wanted to talk about. So, how to keep boundaries. Oh, this is a big one. You may have heard me talk about this method before, but I'm going to mention it today because I feel that this method really helps most situations, and it's my pause method. So we have to protect our boundaries. So that's the P. Whenever we feel that our boundary has been crossed, whether it's a friendship, a romantic partner, anybody like that, we need to protect ourselves first. And you'll have to excuse the paint because I am at major gloss stage with a renovation and I am absolutely covered. So we're going to protect ourselves first. And that can look like breathing, that can look like visualizing a protective shield or bubble around ourselves and just holding ourselves safe in our own space, knowing who we are and giving ourselves that time to stop. Okay, the pause. It can feel very tempting to need and want to react or respond or give an answer to somebody that they're looking for that perhaps doesn't sit with how you truly feel and what you really want, because we aim to please other people or in fear of upsetting somebody else, and many multiple reasons as to why we feel we must give an answer on the spot. So that's number one, to pause and to stop and to just protect your own space. Then we have our A, which is to assess the situation. And this is where you ask yourself internally, how do I really feel about this? What do I really need from this? Is this working for me? And unless we have that time to ask ourselves those questions, we really don't know. We potentially have had the habit of spending years and years and years people pleasing and not even asking ourselves what we want. Yeah. And if we have spent many years behaving that way, we don't necessarily even know how to ask ourselves what we want. So we need to assess the situation internally. What's good for us here in this situation? Many times we're going to focus on friendship today because we could talk about this with any work relationship, romantic relationship. We're going to focus on friendship because I really wanted to talk about friendship over 40. Um Lives change, people, friendships grow apart. You end up perhaps only seeing each other once or twice a year rather than a lot more frequently when we were younger. And sometimes I feel from conversations and experience and working with people as well as my own life, this can be really hard for crossing our boundaries because perhaps you are busy with your life and your work and your family. And you have this friend who wants to see you more often than you can offer your time for. And you feel very pressured by that. And even if you're trying to get off a phone call with them, you're only wanting to give them 10 minutes, but they want to go on for an hour. Perhaps you only want to see them a few times a year, but they want to meet up every month. This is where I feel we really need to assess where we're at with our friendships and our boundaries. Okay. Now, this is when we move on to you. After we've assessed what we need, okay, perhaps I am a once a month person. I've said this before. I'm a once a month person. So I'll socialize once a month. If I have chosen one specific friend for January, I will choose to socialize with someone else in February. And that's how I book out my social calendar throughout the year. So that's only 12 commitments throughout 2023. And you have to wait your turn because, yes, I could try and squeeze people in, but I would be running myself tired. I'd be losing my energy. I have a new baby. There are things that I have and haven't got time for. And it does not mean that I do not value that specific friendship, but I value my time and I value my energy and I value my need for rest. Okay. So that's my number. Okay. I'm a once a month. You might be once a week. You might be a few times a week. Everybody is different in terms of their social energy, what you can give to the external world beyond yourself. Now, let's say you have this difficult situation with a friend. Friendships over 40, how different they are now than when they were when we were younger. Perhaps you even feel a pulling energy from this person because they need you, because there's something going on in their life that they're finding really hard. They're perhaps feeling lonely, or they're dealing with a breakup or something. There's some need, okay? And you don't have that emotional need, but they do. So there's an imbalance there. How do we hold our boundaries? When we get to the you, after we've protected ourselves, assessed what we want, we need to understand the situation from our point of view and from their point of view. And this is where healthy detachment comes into play. Some people say that detachment is very negative. Dissociation is scary. Dissociation is something completely different from detachment. And I think sometimes when people use the word detachment, what they really mean is dissociation. If you are emotionally dissociated, that can have consequences, and we have to be careful with that. But detachment is not making someone else's problems our own. Okay, keeping ourselves separate with a healthy distance. And in order to do that with that friend, let's say we have a friend who wants more time than we have available, we need to remember that we aren't attached by this invisible umbilical cord. Their problems are their own to solve. You can be there for them. You can understand their situation. When you apply the empathy and the understanding, you can understand why they're feeling the way they're feeling, of course, because they have things going on and they do need that support. But you cannot be everything for that person. So with healthy detachment, you can give your time, set your limits, know what they are. So I'm only giving this person a 10-minute phone call, if that's your rule. And you always have an end point then, because you can understand and you can listen and you can support and you can see it from their point of view. But at the end of the 10 minutes, But at the end of the 10 minutes, we can learn statements to help us end the conversation so that they feel good. They've had that support from you, and you feel good because you've been a good friend, but you've also set and stood by your own boundaries. Because the minute that we break our boundaries, the minute we start attacking ourselves, and this is so important, because if you decide you're only going to let this person have 10-minute phone call, and you go to 20 minutes and you go to 30 minutes and you go to 40 minutes, we build up this level of frustration with them, with ourselves, how we're responding, how we're reacting. We then internalize that because we're attached to it. We feel guilty, we feel shame, we feel that we don't know how to express our needs because we don't want to hurt their feelings. And we believe that we can't even set our own standards, and that we're then rubbish at holding boundaries, maintaining them and setting them, because we just break them ourselves. And then we start attacking ourselves. And that's what unhealthy attachment is. Okay. So if we don't know, this is another video, but if we don't know how to express those things and get out of those conversations in a kind of polite way, that's another video. But pausing and stopping and getting to the you in this process allows for us to be able to do that. Okay. S is to set the boundary. When you know how to protect yourself, assess the situation, you understand why it's happening, you get to definitely be clear and set what it is that you're going to put in place. So I'm going to meet up once a week. I'm going to allow 10-minute conversations with friends via the phone, or I'm not even going to take texting anymore. People just have to call me. I mean, this is a rule that I put in my life, was with a baby and everything like this. I just can't text anymore. I find it really, really hard. And so I moved to voice messaging because it was quicker for me. And I'm often feeding a baby at the same time. I have one hand available, or I'll just send them a voice note to say, call me, and we'll have a quick phone call. And that was a big change. And friends don't know how to accept changes in your life because they're used to you being available in a certain way to them. And it's hard to start off with. And sometimes when you put these boundaries in place, you do lose the connection. You lose the friendship. You realize how much you meant to that person. And that is a repercussion of you standing up for yourself. But that creates room for you to make connections with people who are aligned to the needs that you now have. And that is hugely important. If that means that you have to spend a period of time alone, we can always fill that gap by making great connections online. That's what I absolutely love about this app and the community, and making online friendships over 40. What I really, really want to touch on today is sometimes our friendship circle hasn't changed our entire lives since school. Sometimes they have changed so much because we've moved about, they've moved about. I've certainly lived in different countries. I have friends dotted across the globe. Most of my friendships are online because of that. Our need for socialization is massively important for our mental health, but it doesn't just have to be in your local area, because the chances are those friendships aren't there anymore. And friendship over 40 is really, really hard. And it's hard to make friends when you've moved to a new place, when you've become a certain age. Vocal people around you have already got their friend set. It's difficult for you to kind of join in, get involved. I've certainly experienced that right now because I've just literally a year ago moved to a new area again. To start from scratch. And making friends over 40 is hard, and it can feel really lonely. And when you're on this spiritual journey of self-development, loneliness is real, because you realize that actually you don't have much in common with the people who you thought were your friends. You'd rather be talking about this and having these conversations because you've awakened yourself, you've expanded your soul into these topics that are now have your belly on fire, but the friends around you are not interested in talking about those topics at all. So again, this is why I love connecting with people, like-minded women in this community or other communities like it online, because you will make connections with people who do want to talk about somatic healing, everything that you're interested in, spirituality, whatever it is that you love right now, knitting, painting, whatever. So S, set those boundaries. E, finally finishing on E, which is to evaluate the situation and the boundaries, because just because you set that rule for yourself in January doesn't mean it works for you or for them. You might change your mind. You might have more space to allow more social events in. Maybe you bit off more than you can chew, and you have to reevaluate the situation because it's still not working for you. There is always room and time to evaluate and change your mind. Just because we put a rule in place doesn't mean we can't go back and change it. I hope this has been really helpful. Thank you so much, Becky, for that amazing question. And every week, if you have questions, topics, things you want me to cover, please submit them into the frequently asked questions section in our community, and keep enjoying this space, making connections. And slowly, as you feel more confident, just, go into the Somatic Healers chat group and pop in a quote that has inspired you recently or something simple, and just start connecting. Take care. Speak soon.